What is the one thing that you look for in founders or companies that you invest in?
I think right now, the characteristic that my partner Mike and I most hone in on when we're evaluating founders is their slope of learning. And so what I mean by that is how quickly can a founder learn? Are they sort of constantly curious about their business and what could evolve in their business? Are they showing that slope of learning in just their decision making, how quickly they move on a potential opportunity? And it feels like that characteristic is just more important than ever in this AI era, where uh, so much is changing so quickly. And so I think since we started Footwork 4.5 years ago today, our emphasis on that slope of learning quality has kind of continuously increased, and now is sort of the focal point. If you press me on like the one thing that we look for in founders, it's the focal point of our evaluation.
And how fast can you assess that in someone, or maybe how do you assess that in someone?
Your question of how fast, in the first 30 minutes I spend with a founder, I'm trying to assess that, to decide, am I going to spend another several hours with that founder or that team? Am I going to really dive into the business tonight? Uh, and so I try to make call on it in that first meeting. Um, to assess it, uh, I'm trying to pick up on, um, how their thinking on the business has evolved. I'll ask questions such as, um, take me through some of the highlights in the game film between when you started the business or when you had the idea for the business to where you are today, just to see like what they pick up on in their own journey as they reflect on it. And what were some of the key learning moments, to try to assess is their slope in their thinking, in sort of their actions over time. Um, I think you get a sense for it in the back and forth that you have with the founder. But then to get to a final investment decision beyond that first 30 minutes, it's a back and forth that we have, over the course of a week or a couple of weeks, however long the process ends up being, um, where we're really trying to assess that slope of learning and more. Examples where, in the case of Honeydew, for example, a mutual investment of ours, David Futoran, the founder, CEO, and I chatted on an almost daily basis for like a couple week period. And so like, text back and forth, quick calls to try to really understand his thinking. And, and in that case, just got more and more excited about his slope of learning as a founder, the qualities we saw in him that led to us making it.
It's interesting because actually, as you're saying this now, I'm thinking back to some of my investors at Better Cloud who would do one of them. I got a warm intro and he said, Dave, I'll do a 15-minute call with you. And if I like you after the 15 minutes, I'll fly to New York to meet with you. And I said to him, I'm like, that's kind of crazy. Like, is he going to know in 15 minutes? Is it worth spending time with me? But as I've now started seeing a much higher volume of companies, you do realize that there's something pretty quickly. Maybe it's not 15, maybe it's 30 minutes, like you said, but there's something that you very quickly get a sense for how someone thinks about their business, how they describe the business, how excited they are. And that happens in a pretty short period of time.
For sure. That's why I think that the takeaway I would encourage founders to have from this is, whether it's 15 minutes or 30 minutes, what you have when you meet a potential investor is the first 5 minutes to really capture someone's attention and to get them to lean in for 10 more minutes, for 25 more minutes, to get them thinking they have to go fly to meet you next week, to spend more time. And so I always encourage founders to think about what they want to say very carefully in that first 5 minute window that they have in every new meeting with a potential investor, because that's your opportunity to really hook someone in.